right. Well, welcome back to Always on the Hunt. With today's episode, we have a special guest, Randy Blanchard. If you don't know who Randy is, Randy has been an industry expert and veteran for more years than he wants to admit. He and I go back at least 25 years. He's been very influential in my journey through the AV industry. So his background, I'll let him get into more detail of it, but he's been in a bunch of leadership positions, from running a successful retail store that evolved into becoming an integrator. Worked for the largest distributor in the space, building up their residential AV practice. Started buying groups, sales leadership for manufacturers. So Randy, let me bring you in and welcome you to Always on the Hunt.
Well, thank you, Leo. Appreciate it. I appreciate you inviting me on. I think it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a pretty energetic hour. I'm looking forward to it.
It's always fun, to reminisce a little bit, talk about the industry. That's the goal for today. We're going to talk about where the CEDIA system integrator side of the industry is today. We'll go back, try to compare to what we experienced through our careers, and just kind of see where the conversation comes and goes. So Randy, tell the listeners a little bit more about you. I gave you a very brief intro, but tell them more about your career.
I appreciate that, Leo. Like you said, I've been started in this business out of college. Again, way longer than we want to talk about. 20 years before you and I met. So I've been doing this since pretty much a teenager. And 21 I started. I was 21 years old when I started in this business. And, again, started as just a sales guy on a retail floor, and quickly went through the ranks of that organization. I was there for 22 years and helped lead it evolve, watched it evolve, and watched it grow. And it was opportunity. I knew about appliance buying groups, read it in a trade magazine about them wanting to start an AV division, and got a hold of some people. And lo and behold, I was one of the founding members of what's now ProSource. So exciting times. And, I did that, let it run its course. I was a big customer of ADI, and we'll mention ADI. They're a great operation, as you were, and that's how we met.
Right.
But as they didn't know how to deal with us. They were, you see, they didn't know how to deal with us. So they actually asked me to come and teach them how. And how do I talk to Smile and people like Smile back in the day? And that was a great run too. But then I saw an opportunity, same thing. Vanco had acquired a speaker brand, but they were video guys, great video guys, good friends, great business people, but same issue. They didn't know how to sell speakers. Right. So I went and joined them to teach them how to sell speakers. And that was a great run. Left the industry for a little bit and still dealing with the channel, but in the networking side. And now I'm looking forward to the next chapter, and the next chapter will certainly be focused back in my true love, which is AV products in the AV industry.
Right, which is good. I'm excited for you and looking forward to everything else that you will accomplish, because you've done so much for the industry. And it's interesting that you've been part of almost every evolution, right? From the retail to the installation and integration. You worked for the buying groups, you worked for the distributors, you worked for the manufacturers. So you've kind of seen and done it all. Randy, tell the listeners, when you think back throughout your career, and again, being that this podcast is mainly about the careers in the AV industry. When you think back to your career, what have been like what were the most important aspects? Like what was the secret sauce? What helped you become successful and grow and achieve everything that you have?
Wow, loaded question, brother.
Yeah.
um, it, it was and it is still an industry built on innovation, built on change, built on adaptation, but more importantly, um, it was built on passion. Right?
Right.
We sold electronics, we sold speakers, we sold things because we loved selling them. We loved it's about the emotional connection that the pro and it's not just the audio side, but the video side, the control side, the lighting side. It was about that emotional connection that we had, but you saw your customers have. You
Right.
saw your customers, when you did a great speaker demo, or the first time they walked in and saw a 110-inch projection TV. At that time was a Runco product that
Right.
with a processor ran them $20,000, $30,000, but the emotional connection it was really what it's about, I think, and I think we've lost it, but it's still there. You just have to know how to find it, and
Right.
you have to be willing to accept it as an integrator, and you got to be excited about it.
Yeah.
If you don't love what you do, go do something else.
Right. Right.
You know,
No, it's true. That's how I got into the space. As a college student and IT major, I was tasked with an assignment to, write a paper on emerging technologies, and I came across smart homes. And I remember getting the pamphlet, like the brochure, the marketing brochure from Crestron and AMX, and just flipping through the pages and reading about it. And like my eyes just got huge. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And then the first time you hear an unbelievable 2 channel demo, or you walk into that home theater for the first time, and it used to be my favorite part of doing this as an industry was that first time that we powered up a system for our clients, and just seeing these adults that are high powered, successful, wealthy, powerful people, and they just turn into 8-year-old children and are like just giggling with joy and glee. And that's, that was always the best part. That was the most fun we've had.
because while we all sold, and again, your organization in Cleveland and my organization in Detroit, we're very parallel in their passion and very parallel in the products, but mostly in the solution that we offered, right? And it
Right.
was offering a solution. Yeah, I mean, it was. We called it, and some people still call it, right, the suspension of disbelief,
Right.
where you just believe in the music, you believe in the environment, you believe you're in the movie, you believe
Right.
you're in the front row of the orchestra, and again, it's a suspension of disbelief that we always coached on, and I
Right.
still coach on it,
Yeah,
and um, yeah, I mean it's but we say it was a fun time. It's still a fun time.
it
The
is. It is.
cheese
I mean,
booth, right? But the
right.
cheese is still there.
Look, as more things change, the more they become the same, right? And we'll jump into that. But like you didn't directly answer the question, but I will kind of summarize what I heard, and you can.
Ask me the question. I ramble. I ramble. Tell
I
me
know
that
you
I'm
do. I know. All right, but no, like I asked you, like what did you think was the keys to your success? What your secret sauce? What I heard was, one, adaptability, having to reinvent yourself with every evolution of the industry, and then the other thing was passion, just really being passionate about what you did, and for the tech and for the people and the solutions and the experience and all of it. So
So every time, and let me summarize it. Yeah, because I was rambling. it was about seeing an opportunity, recognizing the opportunity, and then capitalizing on the opportunity. It was that in my days with my integration company, P Cars. You know, how do you go from good to great? It was that when I left P Cars and joined ADI, who I loved, but I saw an opportunity because they really didn't understand you and me.
Right.
You know,
For sure.
and Banco, same thing. Great company, didn't understand how to sell speakers. Bought a great brand, a truly great brand, and just didn't understand it. So opportunities, and it's always there. So yeah, my career has been about identifying opportunities, pro sourcing thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
All right. Well, I was going to ask you, like what advice you'd give to somebody who's early stage in their career in this industry, looking to grow, advance. What do you
So
think that they need to do other than find opportunities? And because it's not always that obvious, right? And sometimes you feel like you're busy with work. So what do I do? How do I advance and climb that proverbial ladder?
So that's a good one. So many, much of our industry is still, a cottage industry compared to the, global CE business. Um, and a lot of the companies started by guys that went to work for them, and we've experienced this in our life, and just knew they could
Sure.
do it better than we could.
Right.
Uh, so I would say if you really enjoy the business and you want to grow up, you want to possibly own your own business, um, it takes more than just passion. You've got to be a smart business person. You've got to find mentors. You had a mentor, your father.
Sure.
I had multiple mentors over my career. Find a mentor, find someone who's willing to mentor, and don't think you know everything, and learn. You've got to educate because if you're not a good businessman, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You've got to be a good businessman. But no matter what, if you don't love what you do, don't do
Yeah.
it. Especially if you're young, don't do
Right.
it.
And look, like with the business stuff, I think this industry is doing a much better job teaching, how to run the business. There's organizations like Vital out there that I think are doing great work. And CD is doing a better job as far as giving business classes because like we had to figure this stuff out, right? I always think back to how green we were. But anyways, but yeah, no, finding mentors is what if it's not about this? What about on the manufacturer side or all the other different avenues of being involved in this industry? What do you think it really takes?
Again, I'll say it over and over and over. It starts with passion.
Yeah,
Starts with passion and enthusiasm. Um, if you want to work for a manufacturer, and I did, I've worked for two manufacturers. I worked for ADI, and that's a multi-billion-dollar industry, bigger than most of the manufacturers on our side of the industry.
right.
Um, I would say, pursue it. And, it's, you read about like Abraham Lincoln, right? How many times Abraham Lincoln failed before he became governor of Illinois, senator, on and on and on,
Right.
right? Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to apply for 1,000 jobs.
Yeah.
Uh, don't take your first no as your last no. Um, and just
That's so important because people don't realize that in life you're going to fail more than you succeed. It's just natural, right?
absolutely.
The law, the way the numbers work, you're going to fail more than you'll succeed. But if you let the failure stop you, you'll never get to the successes.
And you got to invest in yourself. You
Right?
know,
Take risks.
it's just like school, right? You
Yeah.
have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your education. You also, and one thing, if I can pick on our industry a little bit, and I don't like to, but I will. It's
I have a feeling we're going to do a lot of that today.
I had a feeling, yeah, brother,
Right.
you're right. Is it comes down to, I mean, right down to physical appearance. I've been to every Cedia show but two.
Yep.
Thank God I missed the big rain out one. That was one of
Right in New Orleans, the
that
hurricane
guy.
one. Yeah.
I was okay with that. But I still see people, and I spent so much time on the road, crisscrossing North America and meeting with dealers, and I still see people that look like they just rolled out of bed. You know, and yes, I get you're an integrator. I get you are actually putting your hands
Yeah.
on your tools, but first impressions are critical in every
Huge.
business and
Huge.
everything we
Yeah.
do. And, we're much more casual. When I started this business, we wore suits and ties every day. I can't tell you the last time I wore a tie, but but how you carry yourself, how you look,
Right.
uh, those first impressions are going to tell a customer and a manufacturer and a partner, um, what does this guy think of himself and what does he think of me?
Hmm.
If you show up at work, if you go to a trade show, if you go in front of your customers and you're wearing a t-shirt and dirty jeans and boots, it's always
Right.
been a pet peeve. It
Yeah.
just says I don't care about myself and I don't care about my customer.
Right. Look, we were definitely part of the trade community, right? The electricians, the plumbers, the HVC guys, but we always had our guys dressed, right? Khaki pants, not jeans, button down shirts or collared shirts, because we were the high tech guys, right? We couldn't just be, no offense to the plumbers, but we couldn't just be another plumber, right? So,
But
um,
let me jump in.
yeah,
Plumbers. So there was always and it can't be a Detroit thing, a running saying that when you pulled up, you were going to go cold call on a new construction site. If you saw a Mercedes or a Cadillac parked in front of the house, it was either the homeowner or the plumber,
or the plumber, right? For sure.
right?
Yeah,
And the guy that ran the plumbing business typically didn't dress like a plumber.
no,
The guys that were pulling the pipe, oh yeah.
yeah,
But again, but you knew it. You knew who he was, and driving that kind of car says I'm successful,
right. Yeah.
and I'm successful because I do a good job.
Look, to me, it comes down to pride, right? If you have
Yes.
pride, if you have pride in the way you dress, you have pride in the way you appear. And look, we know not everyone could be as stunningly good looking as both of us, right? But you can take a little bit of pride, a little bit of effort into your appearance. You're also showing that you're going to take pride in your work. People who don't take pride in their appearance, yeah, usually they're like, all right, it's good enough, right? Which to me, my biggest pet peeve were those words, good enough. Like if I heard a technician tell me, hey, it's good enough, I would lose it. I'd be like, no, there's right or wrong, it's black and white. There is no gray good enough for me. But anyways, Randy, what about hiring? Like obviously you've been in hiring roles. You've worked with a lot of dealers over the years. You know, what have you seen in regards to hiring talent, finding talent, attracting talent? What do you think people should be looking for? What traits? Let's talk about hiring.
So hiring, it depends on what you're hiring for. Whether it's an installer or an office person. Hiring the office person is usually pretty easy.
Yeah.
You're looking for someone with that business acumen or business education and can handle Microsoft Office.
Right.
Um, when it comes to like an installer, let's say, right? Because let's you got to have quality installers. Absolutely. Assuming you have a good installation crew already, and you're
Mm-hmm.
building it up, you got to hire for work ethic. You got to hire. Yes, you want a guy who knows how to push the button on a drill, who knows how to turn a screwdriver. But again, what you want to do is you gotta know what questions to ask to identify if he's going to be at work on time,
Right.
if he's going to finish the job, if he's going to follow instructions and care, again, like us, we talk about care about what you do.
Right.
Forget skill, forget experience. Hire for hire for desire, hire for passion. You
Right.
know, I can give you a quick story locally. One of my daughter's friends out of high school, um, great kid, nice, I mean, wonderful young man, but he had dreadlocks, couldn't, I mean, just, struggled. But I knew he was a great person.
Right.
And I called a local integrator here, huge security house in Detroit. And I said, hey, I got my daughter's got this friend, and he's a wonderful guy. And I think he'd be, very loyal if you can, if he can get in and start at the entry level. And he had him come by and he liked him. And now he's if 3 years later, he's a lead technician.
Sure.
He's a lead alarm installer. And you know what? He's never going to leave because he's doing, he doesn't strive to own a business. Not everybody does. He
Right.
doesn't strive to run the installation department. What he strives to do is to do a great job and go home,
Yeah. Yeah.
plays video games.
I think most of our industry, what they're looking for, especially when it comes to technicians, they want people that come in that already know the products, already know the technology, have experience. Basically, they just want to kind of get that finished product. And a lot of times you end up hiring a tech and you're inheriting their bad habits
Yes.
and how they were taught poorly, or how I remember we hired one guy that was, comes from like a huge integrator. He moved from a different city to our city, and he walks in, just has like all this knowledge, all this information, and we're like, great, wow, we're getting like luckiest day of our lives. And what a disaster he was. Like everything was just between his ego, his personality, and he wasn't even as good as he advertised. So I think, when I think back to how we hired our technicians, the soft skills, the like you said, are they going to come up? Are they going to show up to work on time? Are they going to dress appropriately? Are they going to take pride in their work? Do they have a passion for what we do? Do they really geek out over the stuff? And we found those people, although it took a little bit of investment up front, would climb, our ladder and become lead techs and become people we could depend on versus,
And
you know,
back then we didn't have the opportunity to back then. Good Lord, Leo.
yes, I know. We've been
But
around for a while, Randy. We've been around.
you, there also wasn't the universities, the education. The
Yeah.
CD has got their tech school. Um, my buddy Henry Clifford is running a great education facility in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, there those we didn't have those. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of learning on the job because that's the only avenue. Um, but you can flush those guys out pretty quickly.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. And look, and the same's going on the commercial side. I had Dan Farisi on the podcast, the editor of Commercial Integrator Magazine, and we were talking about the same thing. Like, the different programs they have. Pace University has a program going on, all this training, but it still comes down to, sometimes you just got to be a little bit innovative, right? To find talent in different places and focus on the soft skills and look for the diversity in the hiring that we do and look for everything that we possibly can to just, instead of just trying to find, technicians from the same sources. And we didn't have, like you said, we didn't have any of this stuff 25 years ago, but it's still, talent still is the biggest challenge, right? Still is, no matter what.
Hire from your competition. There's a reason why they're leaving your competition. Could be the competitor is just a bad place to work. but it's more than likely it's, you know what,
Yeah.
because he's not he thinks more highly of himself than his employer does, you know. And
Right.
like you said, sometimes you end up with people that you weren't planning on having. You
Right.
thought you were going to get more. You know, the other piece of it, it's funny because I remember arguing with the president of our company back in the day about training.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, uh, I don't want to spend money to send this guy to Crestron to New Jersey.
Right.
I don't want to, you know, I don't want to spend the money to send him to Lutron and Pennsylvania because, you know, I'm just going to teach him and somebody else is going to steal him. And I mean, it was quite the
Yeah.
argument. And then,
Right.
you know, then it goes back to, well, what if I teach them and they leave? Well, what if you don't teach them and they stay?
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's old
100%.
adage, but it is so true.
And what companies don't realize is that it costs more money to recruit a new candidate, new employee, than it would to give the proper career path, the raises, the recognition, and retain your talent. Right. So, when
Unless they hire bird dog,
right.
then it's not.
Well, right. Well, of course they're going to hunt, right? But no, look, they every it's funny because you talk to business owners and you ask them like, why do you think employees leave? And they say, oh, money. And I'm like, actually, it's usually reason number 5 or 6 on their list of gripes, right? It's usually feeling um, taken for granted, unrecognized, no rewards. It's amazing how like a little bit of recognition goes a long way. Not having the career path, not having the continued education, the investment into them, so they feel like, they don't really care about me, so I'm going to leave. And of course, then they end up getting everything that they're looking for, plus then the investment. But yeah, like to worry about your employees leaving because you invest too much into them, I think that's kind of counterintuitive. Let's uh, let's jump into the state of the industry today. And we're going to focus on the residential integration side. Which you and I kind of call it the CDS side, right? But what are your thoughts? Like, tell me your thoughts currently on the CDS space.
So, um, you know, it's funny. And obviously, you and I have had this conversation uh, quite a bit lately and over the years. You know, you take CD as an industry, and they've got their, or as a company, forget an industry, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get to that. Yeah, as an organization, they had their good and their bad. You
Right.
know, it's easy to identify the bad. Sometimes we just miss the good. But we call it the CEDIA industry. We call it the CD. You know, I mean, you don't call the commercial AV space the Avixa channel, the Avixa space, or the infocom space. You don't call the security industry the ISC space,
Right.
right? They call
Yeah.
it the security space. They call it Pro AV. In the Resi space, we intermix the term the CEDIA channel with the Resi AV channel. So that
Right.
says a lot about the brand building that organization has done over the years.
Sure.
And, you know, I can tell you what, um, again, good, bad, or otherwise, one thing they've done very well is made it easier for people like us to stay in touch, to communicate, to recognize where we have things in common. You know, I can go anywhere in the country. Now, some of that is because I was involved in a national buying group and I worked for a global manufacturer. But I am very happy to say that there's no place in this country I can't go where I can't pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to go have
Yeah.
lunch today?
Right.
And there's always somebody in that market, and we go back to what we were talking about earlier in education and growing. The true ability to network and to say, hey, Leo, I ran into this problem in my business. Can I run it by you? What do have you,
Yeah,
to not be afraid? And, and I'm going to pontificate on one more thing in the same realm. Sorry.
go for it.
It's that also comes down to understanding and recognizing your competition.
Mhm.
Who is your competitor? If Picar and Smile were in Detroit together or in Cleveland together, oh yeah, they're my competitor. No, yes, we compete, but we're collaborators, we're communicators. The competitor, and I've always said this, is anybody out there who's trying to take your customers' discretionary income. It's
Right.
Rolls Royce, it's BMW, it's Porsche, it's Rolex, it's the diamond store, it's the landscaper, it's
The
the
pool,
custom.
the pool
Anybody.
company, right? The pool company was
Yes,
our biggest competitor. Yeah.
those are your competitors
Right.
because they're trying to take your customers' share of wallet that is your share of wallet.
Sure.
And we have to, and I don't think that's the one thing I don't think this industry's done a good job in is
Yeah.
understanding how do I compete against, Corvette today.
Right.
170, the new Corvette C8, car guy. I'm a car guy. If I wasn't blurred, you'd see nothing but car stuff around you.
Right.
New Corvette C8. It's $175,000. It goes over 200 miles an hour. It's sexy, and you can't get one. They're a year and a half, I think, now back ordered. They're $175,000,
Right.
Leo.
People got money. Yeah.
A lot of money.
Right.
That's money that could have been spent in a huge home theater,
Right.
in a house wide, Josh AI controlled system.
Yeah.
But it's going to a car I can't even order.
Right.
That's passion. That's
Yeah.
excitement.
And look, our industry, I think, something we discussed in a previous podcast is how welcoming our industry is. You talk about competitors, and sure, the local competitors compete and they get a little guarded and whatever. But as an industry, between all the national buying groups, going to CEDIA, sitting through the classes, sharing ideas, and figuring out how to overcome challenges, I think this industry is always very welcoming, right? And like you said, you could go to any city and reach out to any one of your former colleagues and go grab dinner or whatever. But which is great about our industry, it is very welcoming. It is very giving back. I think there's a lot of people like you and I who've been around for a long time, and we want to help that next generation succeed. We want to see this thing continue to grow and continue to do good things. Um, let's talk about this though. Like for me, I kind of look at CEDIA a little bit, and I'm a little concerned that I feel like it's come full circle. Where when I got into it, we were catering mainly to the top 1%, maybe top 10%, right? Super expensive two-channel systems, really expensive home theaters. Everything was out of the normal person's budget. Then we had a great run where all these technologies came down in price, all these solutions started coming out. People were building houses. They were able to put in a surround sound system. They were able to put in like a 4-zone or 6-zone audio system, maybe a home theater in the basement, and we were able to cater to that middle class customer. Now, I feel like the industry lost that middle class to the Silicon Valley types, to the Googles and to the Amazon Alexas and to Roku and Fire Stick and of course Sonos and so forth. All great companies, all great products. But now is CEDIA basically back to catering only to that super high end, wealthy customers and selling them high quality 2-channel and super expensive home theaters?
It's a good one. It's a little bit question. It's a good one though. So, no, and again, we talk about the fact that what Cedia, what other people, like Henry, like other people have done, is to create this education group, this avenue for education, uh,
Hmm.
to try to bring younger people in. Um, you're you're not going to outmarket Google. Forget
Right.
it. It's gonna happen. Don't try. Instead, take advantage, right? Take advantage of the fact that Sonos advertises at the Super Bowl, which I don't even know, 3, 4, 5, $6 million, whatever it is,
Eight,
right?
8 million this year. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Right.
I gotta make sure my commercial's ready.
Right.
Uh, but take advantage of that, because what it does is it is opened up our market to many more people that didn't recognize this market before. Now, most of them will stop at that big brand marketing, right?
Right.
That's okay. That's not your customer, or maybe it is.
It
But
used to be.
so many more. But again, we had this. So this was our sphere of influence,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
This is our sphere of influence today because of these big companies. So this sphere is still there, but now we have this sphere. What what we, and I don't say we, many people do a fabulous job, but many more don't. And that is to sell your brand.
Hmm.
What is your brand? You're not going to, again, you're not going to outbrand Sonos. You're not going to outbrand Bose. Ain't going to happen.
Right.
But if you understand how to utilize that and sell your brand, it's credibility selling. It's you have to show the customer that you can harness this and offer them more.
Right.
Remember the word integrator. We call ourselves integrators.
Sure.
And it's that integration. And it's okay. Sonos. What makes Sonos great? It ain't the audio performance. It sounds fine. Again, no disrespect.
Sure.
It's the user interface. It's the UX. It's the
Right.
UX, right?
Right.
I can push a button and make something happen. And it works every time. It doesn't fall off the network. It's a great UX for the
Sure.
most part. Now, Mr. Customer, let's take that great UX and let me show you what else we can do with it.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to sell the tabletop system. We're going to sell you some really nice, focal speakers. We're going to add it to a rush sound system. We're going to show you how we can take what you saw. And again, you give the customer the respect. You don't try to say, Sonos sucks,
Yeah.
what this? You don't do that because he's gone. He's not your
Right.
customer. But you have to say, you have to establish that credibility. You have to be credible enough to
Yeah.
say, let's make it more. And you know what? He ain't never seen that. He doesn't see that at Best Buy. He
Right.
doesn't see that on Amazon.
And the truth is, they're looking for it. They want it.
Oh,
Too many salespeople take that path of least resistance, right? And
yes.
they take the easy sale, and then they don't realize that they're actually hurting themselves. Rather, they're like, oh yeah, I got the sale. Like, no, you just totally shot yourself in the foot.
And some are looking for it. Many are don't know to look for it.
Yeah.
You have to not be afraid to open their eyes.
Right.
Again, some of my best sales in yours, in most of these guys, come because we weren't afraid to say, and again, many, many, many integrators today do this, you know, I see people like Spire Integrated in Detroit here. He does it. Oh my God, his systems are stunning. Um, to be able to say to the customer, let me show you. Let
Right.
me tell you what, did you know you could do this? Did you know this existed?
Yeah.
You know, and be unafraid. Now, it was easier for us because we had showrooms.
I never did. I never did.
Yes, you did. I was in it in
No,
Cleveland.
we never had a showroom. Never. We had space for a showroom that we were always too busy to build out.
Well, yeah, I remember all your defective,
Right.
defective Europe stuff in there. I remember all.
No, look,
But I had a great showroom. I had,
no,
hundreds of thousands invested in my showroom.
we invested in model homes. We invested in having customers that would allow us to use their homes as showrooms, right? But we never had a showroom. We would, we would sell against the showroom because we would sit there and say, look, you can walk into any showroom and they can manipulate. They can manipulate the brightness on the TV. They can make one speaker sound better than the other. Um, but what we sold and what you're talking about is we did credibility selling. We One of my favorite sayings is the best demo you could ever give is one that they'll never see or hear. And most people are like, what do you mean? Like, what are you demoing? I'm like, the demo is my experience, my knowledge, you know, based off of my knowledge and my experience and years of professional. Uh, this is what I recommend, and
Yeah.
here's why, right? And not be afraid to make those recommendations.
And I hope, a lot of people that are going to listen to this are established in that for a long time. But I hope some of the younger people listen to what you just said. And what you said to me that was significant. First of all, you insulted my showroom. But no, what you said, Leo, that was significant was, we talk about credibility. Credibility is everything.
Right.
But you had customers that would let you in your house. Why? They trust you. They respected you. You respected their home. And two is the utilization of builders models.
Right.
It's relationship. It's okay. I'm not going to build a showroom, but how do I sell the sizzle and not the steak? That's
Mm-hmm.
still a challenge, and you can do it virtually with a great app, great website. That's the other thing. Um, I'm still amazed. If you're not going to have a showroom, you better have a fantastic website. Your website
Yeah.
can be your showroom.
You should have a portfolio for sure.
Yeah, if you don't maintain a solid website, because this day and age, your customer's looking on Facebook, he's looking for your website, he's looking for that credibility virtually.
Right.
And if
Right.
you're not going to invest in a showroom, which is okay, you need to use your website as your showroom. Your website's your portfolio. Your website is what the designer takes into the house and spreads out all over the kitchen counter.
Right.
Um,
But
that's it.
yeah, but I think you and I will agree on this. The, the trap of the showroom is for the salespeople is that they end up selling the components, the parts, the pieces, A to B. Like this speaker is this, speaker B is this. They're no longer talking about the experience. They're no longer talking about the overall big picture. It gets back into that spec war and that comparison war versus saying, all right, Mr. Customer, I understand what you're looking for. I know what you want. I understand the experience you're looking for, and just trust my judgment and my recommendations because obviously I'm the professional and I know better. And that's where we were able to compete with some competitors that had amazing showrooms, and we would still come out victorious because we wouldn't get into that conversation. We would keep it very focused on the experience, not the hardware.
All right, so I'm going to disagree with you, but before I disagree with you, did you win those jobs by lowballing the guy with the showroom? Is that what you
Never.
did?
No, we were never lowballing anyone.
So how'd you do it?
We
I'm
sold
turning
us.
the tables here, Leo.
Yeah, we sold us. What are you talking about? We sold us. We sold our experience. We sold our professionalism. We sold our references and referrals. And the biggest thing was customers connected with us because we spoke their language. We didn't talk about watts or ohms or refresh rates or anything like that. We talked about when you come home, you're going to have this. Does what the remote's going to look like. You're going to sit down, lights will dim, music will turn on. We focused on, we were, Randy, yourself, you called on us. We were probably the least technical AV company you ever dealt with.
I wanted to open the door for you to walk in on that one, brother.
Yeah.
But for us, the showroom was important. And at the end of my company's existence, after I left, they didn't have one. That's okay. But it did a few things. One is it did allow you to sell the experience. But if it's properly executed, and I believe we did, it was a destination.
Sure.
People, your destination was the customer's home. And again, the customer's always happiest, more comfortable in his home. Maybe they came to your office, but right. And most of our big jobs were finished. The deposit was handed over in the home, but it was again, it was a destination. It also opened us up to because we started as a retailer. Um, we sold a lot extra. We sold a lot of boxes too. We did both. I mean, and the businesses are different, right? And I don't recommend to this day and age anybody really get into the retail space. But we sold a lot of boxes. I sold a lot of Macintosh amplifiers because I had Macintosh amplifiers. You walk in and see them.
Those blue lights are really mesmerizing. Like you just fall into a trance and you're like, I need a whole stack of those blue lights right now. Look, we're kind of getting into the weeds a little bit. Whether you have a showroom or not, I think we both agree that it's not about selling the components or selling the specs, but it's still back to the experience center. It's still, like our biggest competitor in the Cleveland market didn't call it their showroom. They called it their experience center, right? And they were good about it. They used it very effectively. They did a good job with it. And I think that's ultimately where we're going with this conversation. It's like, hey, as much as this industry has changed and as much as these challenges, they're kind of the same thing. Like, the integrators that are selling the experience are able to compete with the Googles and the Amazons and the Sonoses, and the ones that are focused on the hardware are probably struggling.
Yep, absolutely, because they're not selling the solution.
Right.
100%. They're selling the sum of the boxes, and you got to go past the sum of the boxes, right? And you've got to sell the solution.
Yeah.
And you got to sell yourself,
Right. 100%. 100%. What one last thing about this is like, Sonos to me, great product, awesome, very innovative, right? Changed the industry. I think back through my 25 years, and there's certain products that I look at and I'm like, wow, like this really changed the direction that our industry went. Like, Sonos being one of them. I think Kaleidoscape. I think of TiVo, Philips Pronto remotes. Like these were, first time you saw them, you're like, wow, I need to have it, right? So I guess my question is, and this is probably just a challenge out to all the manufacturers in the CEDIA space, right? Where's that innovation coming from now? Like why have we given up on that and just given it to Silicon Valley to keep innovating and keep coming out with things like the Alexa and whatever? But because before it would be our companies in our industry that would innovate, that we can introduce products to the people who are the early adopters, right? And we would have our exclusivity where they would have to come to us to buy it. And now everything seems to be coming from the major consumer electronics companies, and they're just going mass retail right away.
So let's change that a little bit, because you and I, again, we talked about this a couple hours ago, and then I thought about it, and it's not evolution that we're missing. Everything you said wasn't an evolution; it was a revolution,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're missing. We're not missing evolution, even though evolution is critical, but we haven't seen a lot of revolution. Before talk about the Pronto. Most of these people have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? If you wanted a touch screen, it was $20,000 Crestron or AMX
Mm-hmm.
or some other obscure brand. Now it's you know,
Right.
but it was a revolution. Kaleidoscape was a revolution, still is.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very expensive, but now much more affordable.
Yeah.
But they said, here's a better mousetrap, not no, here's a new mousetrap. And we're lacking that now. I think one of the areas that so what's next, right? What's the
Right.
next big thing?
Yeah.
Another
Right.
one, architectural loudspeakers.
Mm-hmm.
Revolution, whether you
Yeah.
decide who invented
Absolutely.
it. I used to do them when they were car speakers, when they were ADS 300i power plates. But back then, and something's going on in front of there. Anyways, that was revolutionary. That was something a customer hadn't seen before. When we look at the TV world, and back in the day, when flat panels first came out, a 20-inch flat panel TV was $5,000.
Yeah.
63-inch Samsung's first 63-inch was $22,000.
I remember selling a 40-inch Fujitsu
Yeah.
plasma for 15 grand.
Was Dave Cusick calling on you too?
I don't remember, but yeah,
Dave Cusick was calling.
and Randy, we sold 7 of them in one house.
Because you sold them. You sold them. You sold the whole solution.
Right.
And you got a lot of the first, I'm first guy on the block.
Right.
I got to be the first guy.
Early adopters, right?
No matter what happens, we're still servicing egos, and the ego's not a bad thing. Oh, you egotistical. Well, ego taken to extreme,
Right.
But an ego's not a bad thing. The ego is what drives our industry, what has always driven our industry, because we don't sell stuff you need.
Yeah.
We sell stuff you want.
Right. And there's people, and it's not just about the super mega wealthy. There's people that live in middle class neighborhoods that have bass fishing boats in their driveway, right? And they'll go out and they'll spend $100,000 on a boat. They'll spend 100,000 if they are into it, and there are people out there that are into it. They'll spend 100 grand on their home theater. They want the latest and greatest, and yeah, it just takes the effort to sell, right? To sell the latest and greatest, and to sell the cutting edge tech, and not be afraid, to maybe push the client into spending more money than what's the easy route, right? We're talking about large screen TVs, right?
Let me
Go ahead, jump in.
Finish my thought. We talk about that, right? And I think that's our next evolution, more evolution than revolution, is direct view LED TVs.
Right.
People like just video walls. We know people like Planar and Epson and LG have all been in that space in the commercial side forever.
Right.
But as we're seeing the price come down, the the fear come down. I can
Sure.
afford. I'm okay having a 15-foot wide TV in my great room.
Yeah.
Um, so that I think
D- Direct
is
view
the next
LED.
level.
Yeah. Direct view LED is a great example of what the integrators today should be doing, right? Because you can walk into a Costco and find a 98-inch TV for $1,500, and there's no margin, there's no money in it, and they're not that exciting. Clients aren't gonna really be exciting or call their neighbors, but come over to my house, you got to see this. You got to, the show off factor. But the direct view LED is a product that, look, the more things change, the more things stay the same. When we were just starting off, we had to compete with the Bose Wave Radio, which was a which was a tabletop music player, right? Sounds very similar to, you got one. I'm sure you have a whole museum of old tech, right? But like the Bose Wave Radio, the Sonos, whatever it is, there's always other competitors, but you have to be able to use your sales skills to offer clients bigger, better solutions, and they want it, and that's the best part about it. Is they're out there and they do want it.
So we've watched this industry evolve. Let's just talk
Mm-hmm.
about the flat panel industry, if you will. Right, we went from plasma to LCD to LED backlit LCD to
Right.
organic
Yeah.
LED. Yeah, and then the big shift was quantum dot and the variety of different names they called quantum dot, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
how do we get more dots in
Right.
a given space. And the new one, the new frontier, and again, I gotta call out my boys at Just Video Walls, is micro LED.
Right.
And the embracing, I mean, that technology is, we go back to what I said earlier, the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. There's
This
a
is
wow
it
factor. There's a
today.
sizzle, right? A wow
Yeah.
factor, sizzle, and these clients want to buy things that their neighbors don't have.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Right.
Exactly. But Samsung's got micro LED. How much is a Samsung micro LED? I'll save you. It's
Expensive. Yeah.
$150,000. It's on their website.
Right.
How much is a Just Video Wall that only sells to our industry?
Right.
How much is there, where does their micro LED start at?
Right.
60 grand.
Yeah. Look, and there's margin there, and that's the other thing. There's way more
Well,
margin.
again, you
Yeah.
sell it to them.
Right.
You sell it to them, not
Right.
Samsung sells it to them. Best Buy sells it to them. The
Right.
big box Amazon sells it to them. And yours is an installed product.
Right.
So it is the product, the installation, the what we keep talking about, the integration. And if you're selling that kind of product, Samsung's comes with speakers. Whoopee.
Right.
If
You don't
I'm
want it to.
selling,
Yeah.
if I'm selling something like Just Video Walls or Planar or any of them, and you're not wrapping it with JBL synthesis or Meridian or
Right.
whatever. In the product, the audio has to be commensurate with the video.
Yeah.
In other words, don't sell them a sound bar,
Right. Sell the solution. Sell a complementary
but
solution.
sell the premium solution.
Right.
And it's more revenue in your pocket, because once you get to that point, customer don't care what it costs.
Right.
Within reason.
Yeah.
But
Well, look, we're running long. We're rambling on. You and I could talk for hours and hours about this. So I'm going to take this moment to kind of wrap up. Kind of summarize where look, the CDA market. There's we're in a revolution or an evolution. There's still a lot of opportunity. The integrators and manufacturers just have to go after it and go get it. But anyways, let me thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. I really appreciated the conversation. I think it'll hopefully the listeners will get a lot of value. Please reach out to both of us, either one of us, if you want to continue the conversation. If you made it this far, please click the like or subscribe button. We really appreciate it. 5-star rating would be nice as well. And we would look forward to having you join us again next week. And so have a great week and good luck with all of your hunts.